The doorbell camera footage showed my wife Liora sneaking back into our house at 2:47 a.m., her hair disheveled and her designer dress wrinkled like a used napkin. That's when I knew my marriage was as lifeless as the possum I'd found in our pool filter last month. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Harlan Pierce, and I'm 47 years old with a face that looks like it's been through a meat grinder and a sense of humor darker than burnt coffee. I run a commercial drone operation here in Kansas City, filming construction sites and real estate for people who have more money than sense. My wife Liora sells luxury homes to those same people, which is how we met 15 years ago when she still pretended to find my sarcasm charming instead of embarrassing. "Dad, Mom's acting weird again," my 13-year-old son Stan said, walking into my home office where I was reviewing the security footage for the third time. The kid was sharp as a tack and twice as observant as most adults. "Weird how?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "She's been getting flowers delivered every Tuesday, but she throws them away before you get home, and yesterday she told Mrs. Henderson next door that she was going to a client dinner, but I saw her getting into Barrett Cole's BMW. Barrett Bear Cole. The name made my stomach turn like spoiled milk. He was a flashy real estate developer who looked like a retired football player stuffed into expensive suits, all charm and no substance, like diet soda pretending to be champagne." "Maybe she's just working late," I said, not believing it myself. Stan gave me a look that said he wasn't buying it either. "Dad, she's been working late 4 nights a week for 2 months. Either she's the hardest working realtor in Missouri or something else is going on." That night, I set up additional cameras around the house using my professional equipment. If Liora wanted to play games, I'd make sure I knew the rules. By morning, I had enough footage to make a documentary called My Wife's Secret Life, and trust me, it wouldn't win any awards for family values. The evidence was overwhelming. Liora sneaking out after I fell asleep, Barrett's car parked 3 blocks away, text messages I glimpsed over her shoulder that made my skin crawl. "Can't wait to see you tonight, Bear. Harlan's working late again. What a surprise." But the final nail in the coffin came during our wedding anniversary dinner at Romano's, the same restaurant where I'd proposed 16 years ago. I'd hoped for a romantic evening, maybe a chance to reconnect. Instead, I got a confession that hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. "Harlan, I need to tell you something," Liora said, pushing her salmon around her plate without eating it. She looked beautiful in the candlelight, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. But her eyes were cold as January rain. "What's that, honey?" I asked, reaching across the table to take her hand. She pulled away like I'd burned her. "I can't do this anymore. This marriage, this pretense. I'm only with you for the financial security, for love, for passion, for everything that actually matters. I have someone else." The restaurant noise faded to a dull hum. Other diners laughed and clinked glasses while my world collapsed like a house of cards in a tornado. "Barrett," I said. It wasn't a question. She nodded, not even having the decency to look ashamed. "He makes me feel alive, Harlan. He makes me feel like a woman instead of just a wife and mother." I stood up slowly, my legs feeling like they were made of concrete. "Well, congratulations, Liora. You just made the biggest mistake of your life." I walked out of that restaurant with my marriage in ruins and my mind already working on payback. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I was thinking more along the lines of a 5-course meal with all the trimmings. The next morning, I called my best friend Simon Archer. Simon was an ex-cop turned security consultant with a dry wit and a talent for making problems disappear. Legally, of course. If I was going to war, I needed a general. "She actually said that to you?" Simon asked, sitting in my kitchen drinking coffee strong enough to wake anyone. "At your anniversary dinner?" "Word for word. I'm only with you for the financial security." I poured myself another cup, my hands steadier than they'd been in hours. 15 years, Simon. 15 years of marriage, and I'm just a paycheck to her. What do you want to do about it? I want to destroy them both. Legally, professionally, socially. I want them to understand what happens when you betray someone who's spent his career learning how to see everything from above. Simon grinned. It wasn't a nice expression. I know a guy who specializes in asset protection. And by asset protection, I mean making sure cheating spouses don't get to keep what they didn't earn. That afternoon, I froze every joint account we had. Credit cards, savings, investment accounts. Everything that had my name on it suddenly became inaccessible to Liora. I also changed the passwords on all our shared accounts and moved our investments to new portfolios that required both signatures for any transactions. Then I called Monica Voss, Liora's 28-year-old assistant. Monica was ambitious, smart, and underpaid, exactly the kind of person who might be willing to share information for the right incentive. "Mr. Pierce, is everything okay?" Monica sounded nervous when she answered her phone. "That depends on your definition of okay, Monica. I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. How long have you known about Liora and Barrett?" There was a long pause. I don't know what you mean." "Monica, I've seen the security footage. I know about the late-night meetings, the secret phone calls, the flowers he sends every Tuesday. The question is, do you want to keep working for someone who's about to lose everything, or do you want to work for someone who's about to win?" Another pause, shorter this time. "What do you need to know?" "Everything. Every meeting, every lie she's told clients, every corner she's cut to spend time with Barrett. I want dates, times, and details." "She's been using company resources for personal trips with him, charging client entertainment expenses for their romantic dinners, and last week she showed him confidential client information about the Morrison property deal." Bingo. Using company resources for personal gain and sharing confidential client information were both fireable offenses. I had enough ammunition to destroy her career, but I was just getting started. That evening, I got an unexpected call from Kendra Holt, Leora's best friend and the biggest gossip in our social circle. Kendra was the kind of woman who knew everyone's business and wasn't shy about sharing it. "Harlan, honey, I heard about what happened at Romano's last night," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "News travels fast." "Well, Liora called me right after. She was quite upset." "I bet she was." "Listen, I know we've never been particularly close, but I think you should know something. Barrett's been bragging about his conquest to anyone who'll listen. He's telling people that Leora's going to leave you and that he's going to upgrade to a younger model once the divorce is final." My grip tightened on the phone. "Is that so?" "He's playing her, Harlan. He's using her just like she's using you. The difference is, she doesn't see it coming." "Why are you telling me this, Kendra?" "Because Barrett Cole ruined my sister's marriage 3 years ago with the same routine. Charm offensive, promises of a better life, then disappears once the divorce papers are signed. I've been waiting for someone to take him down a peg." "Well, you might just get your wish." After I hung up, I sat in my office staring at the wall of monitors showing feeds from my various drone cameras around the city. I'd built my business on seeing things from a different perspective, on catching details that people on the ground missed. Now I was going to use those same skills to catch 2 cheaters who thought they were smarter than everyone else. Stan knocked on my door and peeked in. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm fine, son. Just planning some career changes for your mother." "Good. She's been mean to you for too long." Out of the mouths of babes. Over the next 2 weeks, I documented everything. My drones became my eyes in the sky, following Barrett's BMW to hotels, restaurants, and construction sites where he and Liora conducted their affair. I had footage of them kissing in parking lots, holding hands at outdoor cafes, and entering Barrett's downtown penthouse together. But the crown jewel of my surveillance came on a Thursday afternoon when they decided to use the rooftop pool at Barrett's building for some afternoon romance. My drone captured everything from a discreet distance, not close enough to be invasive, but clear enough to be incriminating. "Holy shit, Harlan," Simon said, watching the footage on my computer. "This is better than a soap opera. It's about to become a horror movie for them." I started with Barrett's business. An anonymous email to his company's board of directors contained carefully edited footage of his client meetings with Liora, along with timestamps showing when these meetings occurred during business hours. The email suggested they might want to review Barrett's expense reports and client relationship protocols. For Liora, I sent a similar package to her brokerage's compliance department, highlighting her use of company resources for personal entertainment and her sharing of confidential client information. I also included Monica's detailed timeline of policy violations. The results were immediate and spectacular. Barrett was called into a disciplinary meeting on Monday morning. Liora was suspended pending investigation on Tuesday. By Wednesday, they were both scrambling to control the damage to their reputations. But I wasn't done, not even close. That evening, Barrett showed up at my house. He was bigger than me, younger, and clearly thought he could intimidate me into backing down. He was wrong on all counts. "Pierce, we need to talk," he said when I opened the front door. Stan was at his friend's house, so it was just the 2 of us. "Do we? I can't imagine what we'd have to discuss." "You know exactly what this is about. The videos, the emails to our employers. This harassment needs to stop." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "Harassment? That's interesting. I'd call it transparency. See, Barrett, the thing about affairs is they work best in the shadows. Once you shine a light on them, they tend to look pretty ugly. Look, I know you're upset about Liora, but she made her choice. She's not happy with you, and trying to destroy our careers won't change that. You're right about one thing. She did make her choice, and now I'm making mine. Barrett stepped closer, trying to use his size to intimidate me. I'm warning you, Pierce. Back off, or things are going to get unpleasant. I smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. Barrett, I've spent my entire career learning how to see things other people miss. I know about your gambling debts. I know about the corners you've cut on construction projects. I know about the bribes you've paid to city inspectors. You want to threaten me? Go ahead. But remember, I'm the guy with the cameras. His face went pale. You're bluffing. Am I? Tell you what, tomorrow morning, check your company email. I'm sure you'll find some interesting reading material. He left without another word, but I could see the fear in his eyes. Fear was good. Fear made people make mistakes, and I was counting on Barrett and Liora to make plenty of them. The next morning, Barrett's company received an anonymous tip about irregularities in several of his construction projects. The tip included photographic evidence taken by my drones over the past 6 months, showing safety violations, improper materials, and work done without proper permits. Liora's brokerage received a similar package documenting her pattern of showing properties to Barrett outside normal business hours, often using company vehicles and resources for what were clearly personal meetings. By Friday, both of them were facing serious professional consequences. Barrett was suspended pending investigation. Liora was terminated for cause, which meant no severance package and no references for future employment. But the best part was yet to come. That weekend was the annual Kansas City Business Association Charity Gala, the social event of the year where all the city's elite gathered to see and be seen. Barrett and Liora had planned to attend together, their first public appearance as a couple. I made sure it would be their last. The Kansas City Business Association Charity Gala was held at the Grand Ballroom of the Marriott downtown. 500 of the city's most influential people, all dressed in their finest clothes, all pretending to care about charity, while really just networking and gossiping. I'd been attending this event for 10 years as Liora's husband, always feeling like an outsider in my rented tuxedo. This year, I was there as the guest of Simon's security company, and I had a very specific agenda. Liora and Barrett arrived fashionably late, making their entrance like they owned the place. She wore a stunning red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. He wore a custom tuxedo and the kind of confident smile that belonged to a man who thought he'd gotten away with something. They were about to learn otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, the event coordinator announced, we're ready to begin tonight's presentation showcasing the charitable work your donations have supported this year. The lights dimmed and a massive projection screen descended from the ceiling. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I'd spent considerable time and money ensuring that tonight's technical difficulties would occur at exactly the right moment. The AV technician had been easy to bribe, $1,000 to accidentally play the wrong video file, and another $1,000 to make sure the mistake lasted long enough for everyone to see it clearly. Instead of footage of soup kitchens and homeless shelters, the screen filled with crystal-clear drone footage of Barrett and Liora at his rooftop pool, engaged in activities that definitely weren't suitable for a charity event. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Gasps filled the ballroom. Someone screamed. Several elderly board members looked like they might have heart attacks. "Oh my God," someone shouted. "Is that Barrett Cole and Liora Pierce?" The AV technician, playing his part perfectly, fumbled with the controls while the footage continued to play. Barrett jumped up from his table, his face red as a fire truck, shouting at the technician to turn it off. Liora tried to hide behind her napkin, but there was nowhere to run in a room full of 500 people with smartphones. By the time the malfunction was fixed, half the room had recorded the footage on their phones. Within minutes, it would be on social media. Within hours, it would be everywhere. Barrett grabbed Liora's hand and they rushed toward the exit, but the damage was done. The entire Kansas City business community had just witnessed their affair in high definition. I sat at my table, calmly sipping my wine, watching their world collapse in real time. Simon leaned over and whispered, "That was beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful." But I wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I received a call from Detective Ray Fuller, Simon's old partner from his police days. Ray was now working private security for several of Barrett's business competitors. "Harlan, you might want to know that Barrett's been making some desperate phone calls since last night. He's trying to liquidate assets, close accounts, and skip town." "Is he now?" "Word is he owes some serious money to some serious people, the kind of people who don't appreciate being kept waiting. That's unfortunate for him. There's more. He's been telling people that you've been harassing him, that you're unstable and dangerous. He's trying to get a restraining order. I laughed. Let him try. I've got enough documentation to prove that everything I've done has been perfectly legal. Meanwhile, he's the one who's been committing adultery, violating business ethics, and apparently owing money to loan sharks. Just watch your back, Harlan. Desperate people do desperate things. Ray was right to warn me. That afternoon, Barrett showed up at my office with two guys who looked like they'd been hired from Central Casting for a mob movie. Big, ugly, and not particularly bright. Pierce, you've pushed this too far, Barrett said, standing in my doorway while his muscle flanked him on either side. Have I? Because from where I'm sitting, I've barely gotten started. You destroyed my career, my reputation, everything I've worked for. No, Barrett. You did that when you decided to sleep with my wife. I just made sure everyone else found out about it. This ends now. You're going to call off your little campaign, or my friends here are going to make you regret it. I pressed a button under my desk, activating the security cameras and sending an alert to Simon and Detective Ray. Barrett, you just made your second biggest mistake. The first was sleeping with Liora. The second was threatening me in my own office with witnesses and cameras rolling. The two thugs looked around nervously, suddenly noticing the obvious security equipment. You want to threaten me? Go ahead. But remember, I'm the guy who turned your private affair into public entertainment. What do you think I'll do with footage of you making criminal threats? Barrett's face went white. He grabbed his muscle, and they left without another word. But I knew this wasn't over. Desperate people do desperate things, and Barrett Cole was about as desperate as they come. That evening, I sat down with Stan to explain what was happening. Dad, everyone at school is talking about the video from the gala, he said. Some of the kids are being mean about Mom. I'm sorry about that, son, but your mother made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. Are you going to get divorced? Yes, and I want you to know that none of this is your fault. Your mother and I, we just grew apart. But I'll always be your father, and that will never change. Stan nodded solemnly. Dad, I'm glad you're fighting back. She hurt you, and that's not okay. Thanks, buddy, but the fighting's almost over. One way or another, this ends soon. I had no idea how right I was. The end came faster than I expected, and in a way I never could have anticipated. 3 days after Barrett's visit to my office, I received a call from Monica. She sounded terrified. Mr. Pierce, you need to know something. Liora and Barrett are planning to rob your house tonight. They think you keep cash and valuables in a safe, and they're desperate enough to try taking it. How do you know this? Liora called me, trying to get her job back. She was drunk and rambling about how you'd ruined everything and how she was going to take back what was rightfully hers. She said Barrett knew someone who could crack your safe. When? Tonight, during the thunderstorm. They think the noise will cover any sounds they make breaking in. Perfect. I'd been waiting for them to do something truly stupid, and breaking into my house was about as stupid as it got. I called Simon and Detective Ray, then sent Stan to stay with his friend's family for the night. By 8 p.m., I was alone in my house with enough surveillance equipment to film a documentary and enough evidence to put Barrett and Liora away for burglary. They came at 11:30 p.m., just as the storm reached its peak. Lightning illuminated the sky every few seconds, and thunder shook the windows. They probably thought the weather was their ally. They were wrong. I watched on my security monitors as they approached the back door. Barrett had some kind of electronic lockpick, while Liora served as lookout. They were dressed in black like amateur cat burglars, which would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. They made it inside without triggering the obvious alarm system, but they had no idea about the hidden cameras recording their every move. I let them search the house for 20 minutes, documenting their crime in high definition before I made my move. Looking for something, I said, stepping into the living room where they were trying to crack my safe. They spun around like guilty children caught stealing cookies. Barrett had some kind of electronic device attached to my safe, while Liora held a flashlight. Harlan, Liora gasped. We were just what? Breaking into my house? Attempting to rob me? Committing felony burglary? Barrett straightened up, trying to look tough. This is half Leora's house. She has a right to be here. Actually, she doesn't. She moved out last week, remember? And you definitely don't have a right to be here. In fact, I'd say you're trespassing. I pressed a button on my phone, and every light in the house came on at once. Then I pressed another button, and every speaker in my smart home system activated. Ladies and gentlemen, my voice boomed through the speakers. Welcome to the live streaming of Barrett Cole and Liora Pierce's criminal career. You're watching them attempt to burglarize my home, broadcast live to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Barrett's face went white. You're not streaming this. Oh, but I am. Say hello to your audience, Barrett. We've got over 300 viewers already, and the number's climbing fast. Liora started crying. Harlan, please, turn it off. We'll leave right now. I don't think so. See, you two have put me through hell for months. You've lied, cheated, stolen, and humiliated me. Now it's your turn. I walked closer, and Barrett took a step back. For all his size and bluster, he was a coward when it came to real confrontation. Here's what's going to happen, I said, speaking to both them and my growing online audience. You're going to confess everything, the affair, the lies, the theft of company resources, and this pathetic attempt at burglary. You're going to tell everyone watching exactly what kind of people you really are. We're not saying anything, Barrett said, but his voice shook. That's fine. The cameras have already captured enough evidence to put you both in prison. Breaking and entering, attempted burglary, criminal trespass. Barrett, with your prior record, you're looking at serious jail time. What prior record? Liora asked, looking at Barrett with confusion. Oh, didn't he tell you? Barrett's been arrested twice for assault and once for fraud. It's all public record if you know where to look. Liora stared at Barrett in horror. Is that true? Barrett's silence was answer enough. Tell you what, I said, pulling out my phone. I'll make you a deal. Confess everything on camera, apologize for what you've done, and I'll consider not pressing charges for tonight's little adventure. Thunder crashed outside, and lightning illuminated the room through the windows. The storm was reaching its peak, just like my revenge. I'm sorry, Liora whispered, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry for the affair, for lying to you, for everything. I was selfish and stupid, and I hurt the one person who actually loved me. Louder, I said. The people watching can't hear you. I'm sorry, she screamed. I cheated on my husband with Barrett Cole. I lied and stole and betrayed the man who gave me everything. I'm a horrible person, and I deserve whatever happens to me. Barrett tried to run for the door, but I'd locked it remotely. He was trapped, and he knew it. Your turn, Barrett, I said. Go to hell, Pierce. Wrong answer. I pressed another button on my phone, and the sprinkler system activated, but only in the living room where Barrett was standing. He was instantly soaked, his expensive clothes ruined, his hair plastered to his head. The sprinklers will stop when you start talking, I said. It took 30 seconds of cold water before Barrett broke. Fine. Yes, I slept with your wife. Yes, I used her to get inside information about real estate deals. Yes, I was planning to dump her after the divorce. She was just another conquest, okay? Another bored housewife looking for excitement. Liora gasped and stared at Barrett in shock. You said you loved me. I lied, just like you lied to your husband. The water stopped, but the damage was done. Barrett stood there dripping wet and defeated, while Liora collapsed into a chair, sobbing. My phone showed over 2,000 viewers now, and the comments were pouring in. The video would be shared thousands of times before morning. Their humiliation was complete and permanent. Now get out, I said. Both of you. And if I ever see either of you near my house, my son, or my business again, I'll have you arrested. They left without another word, two broken people who destroyed themselves through greed and selfishness. I stood in my living room, watching the storm rage outside, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in months. My marriage was over, but I'd won the war. Barrett and Liora had lost everything, their careers, their reputations, their dignity, and each other. The next morning, Detective Ray called to tell me that Barrett had been arrested at the airport trying to flee the state. The video from my house had gone viral, and several of his business associates had come forward with evidence of his other crimes. Liora was found at a cheap motel downtown, drunk and incoherent. She'd lost her job, her home, her lover, and her son's respect. She had nothing left. As for me, I kept my business, my house, and full custody of Stan. The divorce was finalized in record time, with Liora getting exactly what she'd contributed to our marriage, nothing. 6 months later, I was sitting in my office when Stan came in after school. Dad, there's something I need to tell you, he said, looking serious. What's that, buddy? I'm proud of you, for fighting back, for not letting them win. Mom and Barrett thought they were so smart, but you outsmarted them all. Thanks, son. But remember, revenge isn't always the answer. Sometimes it's better to just walk away. But not this time. No, not this time. I looked out my office window at the city skyline, thinking about how much my life had changed. I'd lost a wife who never really loved me, but I'd gained something more valuable, my self-respect. Barrett Cole was serving 3 years in state prison for burglary, fraud, and assault. Liora was working as a waitress in a diner across town, her real estate license revoked, her social circle vanished. They'd played a game they thought they couldn't lose, but they'd forgotten one important rule. Never underestimate the quiet guy with the cameras.